Ciao friends, and welcome to Simple Italian Cooking. My name is Liz and I've got a really delicious and unfortunately addictive dessert cookie recipe for you today. It is called, well actually it goes by a couple of different names. It's called Snowballs, it's called Pecan Balls, it's called Italian Snowballs. Actually a lot of different, I've learned that a lot of different international cultures have the same, pretty much the same recipe. They call it different names. But I'm going to go over the recipe that I grew up with. One of my favorite recipes. I looked forward to it every Christmas time when Mom would make these, and I just wanted to eat them all up. But these are delicious. And you know what the good thing is? Super, super easy. I mean, easy. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to go through this step by step. Feel free to follow along with me or just watch along and soak it in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the ingredients that are needed to make these little balls, these pecan balls. Okay, so what we're using here is 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of white flour. We're using 1 cup of pecans. So one thing to know is we order our pecans whole. And I will actually put a link down below where you can also get these pecans. 1 cup of whole pecans is still 1 cup of ground pecans. We're going to be using some vanilla extract, pure vanilla extract, a teaspoon of that. We're going to be using a dash of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan, a dash, maybe like 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1/16 of a teaspoon, whatever you want, but no more than 1/8. And then we're also going to be needing some butter. So not a whole stick of butter. This might look like a whole stick, but it's not. This is 6 tablespoons, so you don't want to skimp on that. Then we also have here 2 tablespoons of sugar. And I'm just using raw sugar, organic raw sugar. So, okay, and then, of course, the fun part, the confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar, that we're going to be rolling the balls in at the end. I'm using about 3/4 of a cup. It's an approximation because we're just rolling it. We want that to be really fine. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grind our pecans. Now, do you have to use pecans? And the answer is no. You can use walnuts, you can even use almonds, or you can do a mixture of both. But I'm using pecans because I call it pecan balls. So, and I'm just going to do, you can use, I debated for the video whether to use the Cuisinart food processor or to use the NutriBullet blender, and I decided to do the NutriBullet blender. Unfortunately, they don't sell this one anymore, so I'll put a link down below of what the latest model is for you. I really find this is really convenient. It's easier to clean than all the different parts of the food processor. So we're going to see how this one, how this actually works, and if it will grind it up to real fine like I want it. So we're not going to need this anymore. So how long did that take? 5 seconds? All right, so the next step we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my induction burner so that I actually use this induction burner all the time. If you're not familiar with induction burners, I'll put a link to my video where I talk about why I use them. I use them even when I'm not doing videos. All right, so I'm going to turn this on, and I'm just going to kind of put it on a medium. And I'm going to go ahead and melt the butter. Okay, so the butter is all nice and melted, and that's great. That worked out really, really fast. So how easy is it? All we're going to do is just add all the other ingredients into the melted butter and stir it. So we're going to go ahead and add in the flour, add in the sugar, not the confectioner's sugar. Don't add that in yet. Oh, I should have done the vanilla. Okay. Add that in. Add in a dash of salt. I'm just going to eyeball it here and stir it. And of course, I almost forgot the pecans. And add that in. And I'm just using my spatula to mix it up. You can use a spoon. And what we're looking for when we're mixing this is to just get everything evenly incorporated. So we want the sugar to be evenly distributed. You want the flour to be evenly distributed. So just keep stirring. It's going to seem like, oh, something's not right, it's too dry. Trust me, it's not dry. I really want to make sure everything is nicely incorporated. Now, here's a little tip. I like to use food grade gloves when I form the balls. It just makes it cleaner. So if you have any, go ahead and feel free to use those like I'm going to. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, we're going to bake these. So we need to make sure that your temperature is set, that the temperature is set at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so now that I got my gloves on, I can make a mess and it'll be easy to clean up. So you can see here, and I'll zoom in, and it looks crumbly, right? I mean, it really does. It looks crumbly. But because of all that butter, it forms into really nice balls. And so you want to make about 1-inch balls. If you get a big one like this, just set it aside if it's going to mess up your ball, make it hard to form. And you don't have to wait for this to cool down or anything like that. And just form them nice and round. Try and get them smooth. Now, these are not going to spread. They're not going to spread out. They're not going to flatten. They're not going to get any bigger. So I'm just using a small tray that will work just fine. I'm going to go ahead and finish up here, and I'll see you in a little bit. So one thing that's really nice about pecan balls or snowballs, whatever you're going to call them, is that they freeze really well. And so you can make these in advance of parties and so forth, and then just take them out and just let them thaw naturally. And in terms of storing, I would store these in the fridge for up to 5 days before you'd have to put them in the freezer. So one batch is going to make about 16 balls. Like I said, they're really easy to consume. And I usually have to make a double batch because by the time I'm ready to put these away after rolling them in sugar, you know who has eaten about half of them. So I always have to make 2 batches anyway because of that. Okay, so I have just enough for a little teeny one here, so that's kind of cute. All right, and that's it. So we've made them. Now they go in the oven. The oven's heated up already. That Breville Smart Oven heats up really fast. I love it. Use it all the time. I use it more than I use the regular oven. I'm just going to put these in for 20 minutes at 325. Now that that's in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and clean up. And by the time I'm done, hopefully those will be almost done and we'll be ready to rock and roll. All right, friends, so we've got about a minute till that is done. I'm just going to go ahead and shut it off because I want to bring it over. And there's a few things that you really need to know before you even consider putting the sugar on it. So you got to make sure that these do not burn in there, which they shouldn't at the temperature and the timing that I'm giving you. But here's the thing. Now, if I were to try and roll these right out of the oven, if I was to try and do it, if you were trying to do it, it would not work. If I were to roll it in there, they're going to fall apart. Okay? These have to harden. The butter has to harden with the pecan, with the ground pecan, with all the flour and everything in order to stay together. Otherwise, it is literally going to fall apart. I had a reader get very upset because they made it. They were very excited, and they were so upset because they just crumbled. And it's like, yeah, you can't do that. Like, I put warning signs there. So I am verbally telling you. So first thing you want to do is what I have found the best way, because even if I just pick them up, like some of these I can actually see I didn't pack them enough because they're really splitting on the inside here. So we'll see what happens. Maybe those are just going to have to be seconds that we'll have to eat here. Okay, so I pick it up very gently with a spoon, and I put it on a rack, a cooling rack. And I do that with each of them. I try to barely touch it, okay? And just let it sit and let it cool. It's gonna take a while to cool. Probably about an hour is what I would do because I wouldn't want to chance it. But once it's cool, that's when we can gently roll them in the confectioner's sugar that we. All right, so our pecan balls have cooled down, and I've just let them do its thing and not rushing it. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to roll them in some confectioner's sugar. So I'm going to put some confectioner's sugar in a nice wide bottom bowl. This makes it easy for them to roll around versus if I were just to do it in here, it would be a little harder. So, but what I'm going to do, forgot, is I'm going to put them in a storage container. I love these storage containers. They're really, really nice. They've got a rounded edge, so they don't chip. I've never had one that chips. These will chip. So I'm very careful with them. All right, so we're just going to take our first pecan ball and just gently, I mean, even though they're cooled, we still got to be gentle with them. And you just roll them in and then kind of tap them. Now, if you really want them to not show any of the dough, some people like that look better. They really want it just like a pure white. Then in that case, what you want to do is roll it a second time after you tap the first one off, and then go ahead and there you have it. So, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put them in. This container is probably a little big for our needs, and we just go ahead and roll each of them. So, you know who already came by and tried to sneak one and couldn't understand why I wouldn't let them have them, because I know that one does not, you can't eat just one. I know him. So I'm going to take a little one here and we're going to do a little taste test. Just like I remember them growing up. So good. Thanks, Mom, for the recipe. When serving these, I would recommend serving them at a table. People should know that they may crumble, that they are oftentimes crumbly. You kind of pop them in. If they're not familiar, it's not like they can just walk around and be chomping on it like a chocolate chip cookie.
Outside. You weren't talking with that on me.
Okay, so I just realized that I had powdered sugar like all over my face. So I'm going to re-record the ending to this video. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching. It's really good. Let me know in the comments below if you like it. Make sure to give a thumbs up. And also don't forget to subscribe. And also, if you want a printable recipe, the links are in the description. And you can also join my newsletter where I will send you more recipes every week. And in the description is also, make sure to get your free ebook that I put together of 5 of my top Italian desserts that are easy to make. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. I've had a great time. I hope you have too. Thanks so much for watching. Grazie e ciao.